Hello everyone, welcome back to MixbusTv. Hope you're having a great day. Another rapid fire Q&A. Before we start, please don't forget to check the info box down below for my mixing courses, discounts on plugins, and if you want to support the channel, we have t-shirts, we have a Patreon page. Alexandros asks, what technique workflow trick was a game changer for your mixing recording game? So for recording it, though, I don't think there was one trick or workflow. It was just keep doing it day after day after day with so many musicians. And when you do that for long enough, you just run into so many problems that if you have an open mind and your time restriction, you got to get, stuff on tape and you have to solve problems. So it's just doing it over and over. For mixing, that's a completely different game. While still stands that you have to do it every day and you have to keep at it, and time under iron is how I call it. You just have to, put the time in. Speaking specifically, I think all the game changer had to do with the monitoring system. Whether it was improving the room, whether it was improving the actual monitors. So for example, lately my Eve audio that you will see here in the new room when this room is going to be ready, the SC3012, which are main monitors or gigantic monitors, were such a big step up for my mixes. But when I started learning that no matter where you are, your room, what monitors you have, you just need to learn your monitors, which means you just need to sit and listen music casually to it and then mix to it. Just spend time with your monitoring system. That's the biggest game changer. And I want to stress this, not just mixing on them, but just listening to music. Because even if when you reference mixes and you're mixing, you're still in the critical mindset. When you listen to music casually, you are in a completely different mindset and your brain just get a different kind of information than when you're critically listening to music in your system. But this is one of the reasons because the dreaded car test, and because people want to go in the car to listen to their mixes, because the car for most people is where they listen music for the most part. They spend more time listening music in the car than in any other place. So that's their reference. Okay, so when you think about it and when you realize it, you also realize, hey, I need to do that when I'm actually working in my studio. That's a light bulb moment when you realize that the reason as to why you want to go in the car is because you know the car so well. It's not because the car has something special, Other than that, still related to the monitoring system was, I have it here, but this is in a box. Until I have my new desk, I will not be able to mount it. It's my drummer monitor controller. And you will see, of all the gear that you have, of all the compressors that you have, of all the EQs and things, why that one is a monitor controller. And I talked about this with several friends, and I've always told them, like, you have no idea how much that thing changed my workflow and my mixing for the better, because of the metrics he has on board. Because you can isolate low frequencies, mid frequencies, and high frequencies, or a combination of them. Because you can, with a click of a button, you can listen only to the sides or only to the mid channel. And then you can combine the two. So you can listen only the sides in the mid frequency, or only the mono in the low frequency, or only the mid in the low and the high. So you can combine these things with just a click of a button. You don't have to open plugins, you don't have to set up anything. And that says something about the tactical feeling when mixing. So that having that matrix there, if you go back to one of my most popular videos, which is how to mix on headphones, before everybody was doing videos about how to mix on headphones, you will see that with a plugin, with a mid-side plugin matrix and an EQ, in there I show how to isolate frequencies, frequency portions, and then check the mid on that portion, check the side on that portion, and compare the specific frequency ranges and sides or mono channels to commercial mixes. Because that's something I've seen very few people doing it. You just listen to the whole mix, to the finished reference mix, and then you compare it to yours. But you have to dissect it and start to listen what's on the sides, what's on the low portion on the mid, what's on the high portion in the mid or on the stereo portion. And with the controller that I have, with that drummer, with that matrix, you just have to click buttons, and that changed for me so much when mixing. As for strictly mixing techniques, I think one of the biggest game changers was, of course, granted that you understand gain staging, that was like, until you get that right, your mixes, you will always struggle to get a mix going and, you know, finish it. But other than that was the bottom to top approach on mixing. So starting with basically grouping, routing all your tracks and grouping them. So drums, synths, guitars, vocals, and your tuba, setting your tubas, and then start working on groups on main instruments first, as opposed to go and start with your kick drum. Because usually what happens is, you know, and I'm pretty sure many of you are familiar with this, you open your mix, you start with your kick drum, you spend 40 minutes on your kick, and it's like perfect. And then you open your mix and the kick disappears. Okay, so that's one thing. When you start focusing on individual elements in a mix right from the beginning, you're never gonna make it. It's so hard. It's so much harder, because you need to have, before you start the mix, you need to have the big picture in mind. So you have to have the mix going already and take care of the macro dynamics, take care of the macro movements in the mix, and then, if needed, you go in detail on each channels, which is needed more often than not. But you get my point. Don't start zooming in right from the beginning, but start by taking a couple of steps back and listening to the mix several times, even before doing anything. And then start with just volume. Start with just volume. And don't grab processors right away. After that, another game changer is, that comes with time and experience. Build your chains, which could be plugins. For me is hardware, so I have several chains. Again, you don't see anything right now because the room is being set up. We're waiting for the desk where all my 40 plus units of gear are gonna come in. But I do have chains for, mostly for the groups that I mentioned before. So I have 3-4 machines that I use for drums, not necessarily all of them. Then 1-2 machines for vocals. Then I have my 2-bus compressor, my 2-bus chain with the saturators, compressor, EQ, and all that. So with time, what I'm getting at is trying to build consistency. Something you can default to, because you know how it's gonna sound, how it's gonna react. And that if that doesn't work, you have a reference point on how it should work. And if that doesn't, you know better than going blind. You know better how to adjust that. So yeah, it's a tricky question, because I should really think about it, because I'm sure there are a couple of things that I'm forgetting, but mostly those things are in my old videos. But for right now, this is like top of my head is what I can think of. The most important thing, again, I want to stress it, is your listening environment, your systems, which could be a pair of headphones. Okay, just get used to it. Get used to it, because I mixed records on these, which are $100 speakers, like commercial releases. Okay, so that tells you something, because I know them well. I mixed entire records with my Sennheiser as well. I think those are my main game changer tricks or something like that. And of course, saturation on everything. Anyway, I hope this video was useful. I hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. Leave all your questions for both the rapid fire Q&A and the live stream Q&A that I will set it up, I promise, soon, because many of you asked. Yes, we will do a live Q&A again, and yes, I will get Bella on camera again soon, because you guys asked for that as well. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.